Okay, if you have been around Anchorage for a while, you will recognize many pieces of this slideshow. There are a lot of things about this year's Continuum of Care grant program and Notice of Funding Opportunity that is the same as prior years, but there's a lot that's really different. So I'm gonna try to go over the details of what has changed more than I talk about the things that haven't changed. So at any time, feel free to drop questions in the chat. We do have some time at the end of the presentation for questions and answers. And then we have an email address set up for this particular competition. So as we get emailed questions to us, we'll be populating a frequently asked questions page on our website. So making sure that we get the answers to you, but that we also get them out on the website for anyone else who maybe didn't know they had that question. So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Jessica Parks. I am the Interim Executive Director here at the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness. ACEH is the collaborative applicant for the Anchorage Continuum of Care. So we have that responsibility within our geographic area to put together our collaborative or community application, as it's being called in this year's NOFO. That involves giving support to the Continuum of Care as they launch project applications, go through a rank and review process for the applications that come in, and then working with all of you, hopefully, developing our community application. So our goals for today, I'm hoping that we're able to provide resources to assist applicants. We'll talk a little bit about the 2025 Notice of Funding Opportunity. We'll review our local competition timeline. And then, like I said, hope to have time for some questions and answers. Yvonne, am I showing slide 2?
Yes.
Our screens in here are
okay.
popping in and out. It's very weird. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Catching up. So like I said, this PowerPoint is going to be out on our website. So these are our active links in the PowerPoint, but some important links for you all to know about in this process. We have a page on our website that is specifically for the 2025 NOFO information. We'll be updating that regularly with communications out to you all regarding project applications, the rank and review process, the collaborative application, and technical assistance opportunities for people who are submitting applications or have applications that are ranked and selected and need assistance helping get those applications into the HUD system called eSNAPS. We also have links to the fiscal year 25 Continuum of Care Notice of Funding Opportunity. That is a link directly to HUD as well as on our webpage. We have a link to the Institute for Community Alliances, or ICA, HMIS data and reports page. This is where a lot of the information around our system performance measures and our data for our community are hosted, as well as a link to the HMIS knowledge base. So if you are an applicant that is putting forward an application and maybe you haven't been in HMIS before, there's some information there. So you know kind of what you're getting into with that application. And then, of course, our email address, grants@ach.org, if you ever have any questions or need assistance with any part of this process. So about the NOFO, what is a NOFO? A NOFO is a Notice of Funding Opportunity. So this is a space where we are able to, as a community, put together an application to support housing programs in our continuum of care with that goal of ending homelessness. Our continuum of care is the municipality of Anchorage, and it stretches through the entire geography of the municipality. So all the way out to the Knick Arm Bridge, all the way down to the tunnel, the Portage Tunnel. So it covers a large geographic area. And we have that responsibility here in our continuum of care of providing services through our homeless prevention and response system to everyone in that area. There are more than 400 continuum of cares nationwide. Here in Alaska, we have two. We have the Anchorage continuum of care, and then we have what's called a balance of state continuum of care, which is everywhere except for Anchorage. HUD has 4 strategic goals that are high-level strategic goals with HUD to support underserved communities, ensuring access and increasing production of affordable housing, promoting home ownership and advancing sustainable communities. So this is just one project and one pot of money that exists within HUD. HUD's priorities under this notice of funding opportunity are quite different than how they have been laid out in the past. So there are 6 key priorities in this notice of funding opportunity. The first is ending the crisis of homelessness on our streets. So you're going to see in this notice of funding opportunity, there's a lot of focus on people who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness and how we are addressing that in our community. This NOFO prioritizes treatment and recovery resources. So it's looking for organizations that have that embedded into their projects or have partnerships with organizations that provide those services. The third priority is advancing public safety, promoting self-sufficiency, improving outcomes, and minimizing trauma. Sorry, guys, our screen here is just blinking in and out. If I change slides, if it will pop back. Did it come back? Okay. Also. All right. NOFO lingo. So these are some terms that are going to come up in conversations about this notice of funding opportunity, as well as in the NOFO. And so I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about when we say these terms. So the consolidated or the collaborative application, this is an application that receives community-wide input. It has the individual projects that are selected for funding in our community, as well as information about all of the services that we provide in our homeless prevention and response system. This application is submitted by the collaborative applicant. So here in Anchorage, it is ACH, us. In the balance of state, it is our partner organization, the Alaska Coalition on Housing and Homelessness, or we call it AKCH2. Brian and Helen, I think, are on here. So, and this application impacts our level of funding. So when we talk about the points that are available to us in this opportunity, every single point counts. We want to have the strongest application with the most points possible. We also have local project applications, and so that's what you all are going to submit for consideration to our continuum of care and to the rank and review committee. These can be renewal projects, which are projects that are funded already using continuum of care funds that want to continue to provide those services. And they can be new or bonus projects that are submitted by the applicants to the collaborative applicant. These applications go through a rank and review process and then are ranked based on those scores and our local priorities. Our community also has Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project, or YHDP projects. They are competitive this year, so they have to meet the eligibility and renewal criteria and are ranked right alongside all of the other projects. Those can be renewal projects or they can be replacement projects. So if somebody who has a YHDP grant right now wants to replace it with a different type of project, that is an eligible project type as well this year. And then the last term is the eSNAPS application. So once applications have been selected by the rank and review committee and approved by the continuum of care, those applicants are going to submit a second application, which has a little bit more detailed information about your project into eSNAPs, which is a system that is run by HUD. Eligible applicants for new and renewal projects. So the organization types for new and renewal projects can be nonprofit organizations, state and local governments, and that includes instrumentalities of state and local governments. That is a new term that is in there this year. Tribes and tribally designated housing entities, or TDHEs, public housing agencies, or PHAs, and faith-based organizations. Not eligible to be an applicant are for-profit entities. They cannot be an applicant or a subrecipient of continuum of care funds. And then individuals cannot be an applicant. Eligible applicants have to be able to demonstrate financial and management capacity and experience. That doesn't necessarily mean experience with continuum of care funds or even experience with HUD funds, but experience managing grant funds in the past. They need to be able to demonstrate an ability to provide a minimum of 25% matching funds. So each of these projects are required to have a match that comes in alongside the continuum of care funds that you're applying for. There are some specific limitations to federal funds being used as that match. For the most part, that matching fund needs to be state, local, or private funds. You have to ensure that the population that you are proposing to be served meets the eligibility requirements of this NOFO, and they're located in Anchorage. So any projects that are serving people outside of that geographic area I was describing are not eligible to apply for projects under this NOFO. They would be eligible to apply under the balance of state NOFO. So still important information. You wouldn't be applying to Anchorage though. You have to show a commitment to use AKHMIS, to use our coordinated entry community-wide prioritization lists, and a commitment to advancing those HUD priorities as they were listed in the NOFO. And then last, eligible applicants would be subject to a review of the organization's past performance and activities, including a risk review. This is new, that HUD will be looking at past performance and activities and looking for how those align with those HUD priorities. The HUD categories of homelessness that are able to be served under these grants are people who fit into category 1, which is someone who is literally homeless. They are living in an emergency shelter, in a transitional housing program, or in what HUD calls a place not meant for human habitation. Usually that is outdoors, but it could also be a shed, an unfinished garage, a place where humans shouldn't be living. Or category 4, which is someone who is fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or human trafficking. Eligible project types for renewal. So these are people who already have a grant and want to renew their projects. Permanent supportive housing. PSH must serve categories 1 and or 4 of homeless and be dedicated plus programs. So 100% for people who meet HUD's chronically homeless definition. Rapid rehousing projects also serve category 1 and 4 of homelessness. Joint transitional housing and rapid rehousing, also serving categories 1 and 4. HMIS projects, and so this would be a project to fund that system that everyone is required to be using. And then supportive services only coordinated entry, which is again a grant to fund that system that everyone is required to use that is participating in continuum of care grant activities. Eligible project types for new or bonus projects. Here's where we get into some of the fun stuff. So transitional housing, not transitional housing with rapid rehousing, standalone transitional housing is an eligible project type for new and bonus funds. They would be serving categories 1 and 4 of homelessness. There is a high service requirement built into the transitional housing, but it can be scattered site or site-based. So what that means is you can have a transitional housing project where it is one building that has multiple people in that building, or it could be transitional housing that is provided throughout the community in more smaller groupings of people or individual people in units. Supportive services only projects. So you heard in the renewal project type, we talked about supportive services only projects that were coordinated entry. Eligible for new and bonus funds this year are supportive services only projects that are standalone and street outreach. So again, serving categories 1 and 4 of homelessness, high service requirements built into these projects as well. Standalone supportive services only projects would be supportive services to provide supportive services to unsheltered and sheltered homeless persons for whom the recipient or subrecipient is not providing housing or housing assistance. This is a really important distinction, that this can't be a grant to provide supportive services only to people who live in your building or your property. This would be supportive services being provided to people experiencing homelessness throughout the community. And then supportive services only street outreach. This is intended to serve individuals and families that are primarily residing in places not meant for human habitation. So this is the street outreach teams that would be working with people who are outside, helping to navigate them to housing or to shelter or to treatment or to transitional housing or whatever programs that you're helping navigate them to, and provide those services to them where they are. We also have an opportunity this year for a domestic violence or DV bonus project or projects, depending on what we get. These projects would serve that category 4 homeless. So it must serve individuals and families who are fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. It cannot be exclusively serving people fleeing or attempting to flee human trafficking. So that is an eligible service type or an eligible population, but it can't be exclusively that. So calling that out there. Domestic violence bonus projects could also be transitional housing or supportive services only projects. Project capacity ranking and reviewing. So there are some updated focus areas on our individual projects and how that rank and review process will work. So updated that objective criteria and system performance. The project applications must use objective criteria, and at least 25% of the points must be based on system performance measures on returns to homelessness, system performance measures related to employment income, and they also must have service participation requirements. This is a shift from prior years where service participation was always optional for clients. In order to qualify for projects this year, you must have a requirement for service participation in your project. Another updated focus is on reallocation. We have to show that our continuum of care has a standard process for reallocating from lower performing projects, or that we have reallocated at least 20% of our ARD, which is our annual renewal demand, since fiscal year 21. And we must have a rank and selection process. This is not new. We need to be inviting new proposals from new entities, posting our application on our website, attaching all of our projects with our ranking info, and making sure we're notifying applicants as we are accepting their applications and as the rank and review process is completed. This is a side-by-side comparison between the fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25 notice of funding opportunities. So just to call out where some of these changes are. In 24, there were 84 points available in the categories of CoC coordination and engagement. This year, there are 81 points available in that category. Project capacity, review, and ranking last year were worth up to 28 points. This year, it's only eligible for 9 points. And then system performance, which last year was broken down between HMIS, our point in time count, and those system performance measures. Last year was a combined 74 points for those. This year, there are 40 points available there. And then coordination with housing and healthcare. Last year was a standalone 14 points. This year, that is rolled into the CoC coordination and engagement points. Last year, there were 25 points available for continuums of care that were merging. This year, those bonus points are only 15, but there are 4 points available for policy initiative preferences. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this meeting today about those 4 points, but I believe the community of Anchorage will qualify for a few of those policy initiative preference points. They're mostly focused around opportunity zones, and if you have projects that are being proposed in those opportunity zones. So until we get further in the process, we won't know what those projects are that have been selected for our community. So breaking down those points that are available for the system performance measures, I'm going to just high level go through this. These are the system performance measures that our community gathers information on through those reports in HMIS and reports back out to HUD. So you can see that there is a high number of points available for communities that have reduced the number of homeless individuals and families in their community. Fewer points available for things like reducing the number of first-time homeless, reducing the length of time someone is experiencing homelessness. But again, high points available for successful permanent housing placements, for reducing returns to homelessness, and having projects that are documenting job and income growth for the participants in their projects. Something about those points too, just to let you know, that is based on information that has already happened. Those are projects that have reported that information into HMIS, and we as a community through ICA, our HMIS lead, has already reported to HUD. So they already know what our points are there, but we will, through the course of the collaborative application, have an opportunity to talk and give a little bit of narrative around those particular system performance measures and why they may or may not have had the change that HUD is looking for. The section that is the CoC coordination and engagement, and sorry, this is a little bit small here, but I wanted to break down these points to talk about the importance of having these relationships in our community, and also places where we'll be reaching out to you all as we prepare this collaborative or community application to get more information about how these different programs are working right now and documenting how they interact with other projects that are within our continuum of care. So just calling out a couple of the things that you saw were a HUD priority focus. There are 16 points available based on the availability of treatment and recovery services in our community, and 10 points available for participation requirements for supportive services. So I think it's going to be really important how we as a community are documenting where those resources are available in our community and how we make referrals into them, how we identify when somebody wants one of those resources, how they can get it. There are also 10 points available for reducing encampments in our community. I'm excited about this one because our coordinated street outreach work that has been happening in our community over the past few years I think does a really good job of describing to HUD our strategy to reduce encampments and reduce people who are sleeping outside. So this is our estimated funding chart, and I have a couple things highlighted in red here. In the past, the breakdown between what gets categorized into tier 1 and what gets categorized into tier 2 has looked really different than what it looks like this year. Tier 1 funds traditionally are pretty safe. If your community has submitted an application that passes the initial review, your tier 1 money pretty much gets awarded. Your tier 2 money is where those projects are in a bit more jeopardy, and those projects get scored against how your community's application scored against everybody else's. So all of those over 400 continuum of care collaborative applications, and then also how those projects kind of stack up against the other tier 2 projects. In the past, that split was 90% of your funds in tier 1 and 10% of your funds in tier 2. This year, only 30% of our funds are in that tier 1 category, and the rest are in tier 2. I also want to note that the terms of this NOFO dictate that no more than 30% of our annual renewal demand can be spent on permanent housing projects. So there really is that focus on transitional housing and supportive services only projects, and trying to minimize the funds that are being spent on permanent housing projects. 5% of our annual renewal demand is always available for planning funds. That is a grant that goes to the collaborative applicant to do all of this work. And our bonus funds. So our continuum of care bonus funds. So these are the bonus funds for projects outside of that domestic violence dedicated pot. It does not mean that continuum of care bonus fund projects can't serve people who fit that definition of, survivors of or fleeing domestic violence, sexual assault. It just means that they don't have to serve that population. And there's just over $850,000 available to our community for those continuum of care bonus projects. That does not have to be one project. That can be multiple projects adding up to that dollar amount. And then the funds available to our community for domestic violence bonus project or projects is $265,223. All of these grants require that 25% match. So I think continuing to call that out, that as we have these new projects come in, ensuring that there are adequate resources to provide that match out there as well. So this gives us a total potential funds for our continuum of care of just under $5.6 million. This year we have just under $4.5 million. So there is a potential for an additional just over $1 million for our community. So what about those YHDP programs? In the past, various years, our YHDP projects sometimes compete, sometimes don't. This year, YHDP programs are competing alongside all of the rest of our renewal and new project applications coming in. So YHDP grantees can submit a renewal application if they want to renew their project as it exists right now. They can also submit for a replacement or a transition grant, which will allow existing grantees to change program types and make budget changes. And I want to highlight for the YHDP programs, if they want to submit a replacement or a transition grant, they have to have a letter of support from our youth advisory board. So breaking down on the new projects. Our total bonus funding available, our CoC plus our DV, is just about 1.1 million together. Our continuum of care bonus funding uses can be for those transitional housing or supportive services only projects, and that includes SSO or supportive services only street outreach. Our DV bonus funding uses can be transitional housing or supportive services only projects. All of these applicants will go through the scoring and the ranking process. And just highlighting here, that DV bonus can be used for new or expansion DV specific project applications where 100% of the participants are or will be survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. So important to call out that if you are applying for a project in that DV bonus funding pot, you do have to serve 100% of your participants fitting that definition. Brief sketch of the NOFO process. Where we are right now is on the far left-hand side of we're launching this. Next up is going to be those individual project applications being prepared. They're going to consist of the YHDP renewals and replacements, our renewal project applications. Some of those renewal project applications may also submit, just like the YHDP projects can. They can submit for a replacement or transition grant to transition to a different type of project as well. And then those new project applications being funded with that bonus money or reallocation funds. All of those projects are going to come in. They then go all together through the rank, score, and review process. The rank and review committee cannot have participants that are submitting applications. So it is fully separate from people who may have submitted applications. And it does include representation from people with lived experience and expertise. So I think that's really important that we highlight the wide variety of people who go through and provide that ranking and reviewing process. Once that's completed, those selected projects and the YHDP projects will enter their information into eSnaps. We then, alongside that, will be populating that collaborative application with all of that information about the other services that are provided through our HPRS, how it all fits together into our system, and creating that priority listing of the projects that we're putting forward. All of that then gets smushed all together and submitted to HUD. This is a tentative timeline. I want to call out that there's a lot of moving parts at HUD right now, and we don't even have the templates for these applications yet. So depending on as that stuff is released, some of these dates might be subject to change, but I'm hoping we can stick really close to this. The first and the last dates, probably not subject to change. November 13th is when the NOFO dropped. So last week is when we all found out about this NOFO and the changes that were in it. November 24th is when we'll be launching that local competition. So that's when those project applications will be available for people to start working on them. We did this introduction today. So I wanted to call that out on the timeline. We started talking about it today. December 14th is when those local applications will be due. This date is pretty set in stone because it's required to be at least 30 days before the due date of the full application. So it can't be any later than that. It could be earlier. I don't want to do that to you guys. December 29th, we'll be posting that continuum of care funding recommendation document and sending emails out to those project applicants, letting them know about their selection or where they were ranked in the rank and review process. So that allows that in-between time for that rank and review group to go through, score those applications, and for our continuum of care to vote on that. January 9th is when those eSnaps entries are going to be due. And then January 14th is the date that this entire application package is due to HUD. I am going to strive to submit that application January 13th. I'm not a fan of submitting things on the day they're due. Everything breaks on that day. Some technical assistance sessions. So we will have 2 TA sessions available to people who are providing applications through that local competition. So those individual project applications, they'll be on December 3rd and December 10th. Again, somewhat tentative here, but I wanted to space that out throughout the project application period. So there were different periods of time where someone might have those questions. And then we'll have one technical assistance session in January that will be focused on the eSnaps process. And if people are having issues with eSnaps or have questions about getting their information in there, we'll have a session in early January available for people working in eSnaps. So watch for an email with invites and calendar links to all of these technical assistance questions. Reach out to us by email if you have any questions. And again, on our website, all of this information will be out there and we will keep that page up to date. All right, now we are at questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to see what we've got in chat. Oh, wonderful. So if you were not watching the chat, Helen, who is with our Balance of State Continuum of Care, put her contact information in the chat. So if you are working or thinking about a project outside of Anchorage, that is your point of contact there. We have not heard back on whether or not we qualify for an extension due to disaster relief. Yesterday, both continuums of care reached out to HUD and formally requested an extension of the due date due to the FEMA declaration of the Typhoon Halong disaster here. We are proceeding as if we don't have that because we don't want to be caught off guard if we don't get that. But we may have an extension of that final due date available to our continuum of care. Oh, and then Brian explained it. So, yeah, open it up to people who might have questions. Feel free to raise your hand, or if you don't know how to raise your hand, just unmute. I have it set. People can unmute. Yep, go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, just to clarify, I've been getting a lot of questions too about when this funding starts, right? Like, so if you do a transition grant, could you just explain for this group what that looks like and what is the, I keep hearing the impending cliff, right? But I think you could alleviate some immediate concerns if you just kind of explain the timeline.
Absolutely. So the timeline that HUD has put forward as to when they intend to issue awards is the end of May, early June of next year. If you are submitting an application as a current grantee and you want to renew your grant or you want to transition to a different grant type, your grant will start the day after your existing grant expires. Right now, we do not have any projects that start earlier than June 1st. So we shouldn't see gaps in services for people who are applying for and selected for a continuation grant, a renewal grant, or a replacement grant. The replacement grants or transition grants will be for a 1-year period to allow those projects to transition into their new project type. So for example, if someone had a rapid rehousing project and they wanted to apply for a transition grant to transition that into a transitional housing grant, they have that 12-month period to do that transition. And at the end of that 12 months, they need to be fully operating their new project type, whatever it was transitioning into. So people who are applying for a new project, I would recommend that you set a start date for your project based on hearing that. So knowing that awards may not come until early June, you probably don't want to set a start date of July 1 unless you think you can hit the ground running as soon as you have that award document in your hand. You might want to build some time in there for you to be able to hire staff and ramp up that project based on the time frame of when HUD is anticipating issuing these awards. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Here we go. One thing for us to be thinking about, I was just on a national call this morning, and Schoolhouse Connection and National Network for Youth, their reading is that we won't be able to move people from one program type to another program type. So if you have a rapid rehousing, and then you're trying to put them into a transitional housing, that those, you can't have the same people. So part of that 12-month wind down will be switching out who you're actually serving.
Yes. Yep. That is a really good point. If you are transitioning from one project type to another, you can't just transition your people along with it. And so I am grateful that HUD had an opportunity for a transition grant available to people who were doing that. So that we do have the ability to transition people to a different project before that new project has to take effect. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you guys on if no one else has any questions. We don't need to stay the extra 19 minutes on this call. Just again, want to encourage you as you digest this and read through some materials, when you have those questions, feel free to reach out to us. Email address is up there. Our office is open Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can pop back in. We will have a TA session after our local application drops. I'm gonna get back to that screen here real quick. It will be, trying to remember my dates now. The first one will be December 3rd and the second one will be December 10th. So people will have, unfortunately, this is just all over the holidays. Everything is over the holidays, but people will have that week of Thanksgiving with the application. And then we'll come back that first week of December with a first technical assistance session, and then follow it up with a second session on December 10th, ahead of the applications being due on December 14th. And perfect. Balance of State is going to go same days at 2 p.m. We will probably target a morning time then for that. We have had conversations about the impacts. So I'm reading James's message in the chat. Has there been or will there be any conversation about the impact of compliance with anti-trans EOs will be on our community's safety? We have had those conversations. We've been having them over the last couple months. As much as it felt shocking to see this in writing, we've seen the writing on the wall for a few months now. The administration has not been secretive about where their priorities lay and what that might look like. It is concerning to our community, and I do want to ensure that there continue to be safe spaces for people to be, even if these grants or the people who are applying for these grants may have to have policies in place or service delivery requirements, service participation requirements that don't jive with some of that. So I think it's really important that our community recognize that this is one part of our homeless prevention and response system, and it is not all encompassing of all of the services being provided. And I'm happy to have conversations with anyone about some of those priority areas and what HUD is looking for in them and how that might fit into a project type that you were thinking about, or a way that you have been providing services in your project now, and how that might fit together with those HUD priorities. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Watch for more emails from us. Keep an eye on our website. We will keep you up to date. Like I said, our goal is to have that project application available to you all on Monday. So you will, if you attended this meeting, you will get an email with that project application, but it will also be on our website, social media posts, all over the place. Like I said, watch for emails and invitations from us to participate in creating that collaborative application. You all are amazing partners in our community, and we want to make sure that we are capturing and presenting ourselves to HUD in a way that truly shows the commitment that we have by our service providers and the wide array of services that are available for people here. We don't want HUD to be guessing as to whether or not someone can get access to a certain type of service. We want them to know that Anchorage has that available for people. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.